We just spoke to the CFO of Deutsche Post. She says the worst is behind us. You describe Q1 as being hit like a meteorite hitting you. So are you expecting the risk? Is the risk of a second shower of meteorites on the horizon, or is the worst behind you? Good morning.
Good morning. I would say what you see in our numbers, the second quarter was better than the first quarter. So from that point of view, there was a stabilization, especially in the capital markets. And you see this also reflected in the inflows in our asset management operation. You can also see that our combined ratio, adjusted for the COVID impact and other one-off positive or negative, is well below 94. And then on the life side, you can see that our new business margin is at 3% for the quarter. So from that point of view, we had a good set of results for the second quarter, which is a good starting point for the second half of the year, but it's very difficult now to say what might happen in the second half of the year. So that you see the news coming from Australia. You see also that there are outbreaks in some location here in Europe. The situation in the US is still challenging. So it's very difficult to predict what the future might hold. But I would say that we are doing pretty good based on what we saw so far.
Okay. We know, Giulio, great to catch up with you as always, that you haven't officially released guidance for the rest of the year right now, and you've just explained why. But last time that we spoke, you did say that operating profit for 2020 would be significantly below last year. Those were the words you used. I'd now like to ask you, will you have an operating profit at all for 2020, or could you actually have a loss?
Oh, no, we're going to have for sure an operating profit. You see that we have 4.9 billion for the 6 months. Now, if everything is kind of stable, you should expect the second half not to be worse than the first half, and this should be a little bit better. So there is no doubt that we are going to have a sizable operating profit, and we are going to have a sizable net income. It's not just going to be higher compared to what we had last year, which was, by the way, a record year, but we are going to have very strong performance anyway.
Giulio, the inflows into PIMCO, talk to us a little bit more about that. Where did you see those flows come, and where were they delivered to, on the equity side or the bond side? Just some context there.
Now, when you look at the flows, they're coming from the fixed income side. We see also flows in multi-assets and in alternative strategy. Indeed, the only area where we didn't see positive inflows, and this applies both to PIMCO and the GI, is on the equity side. That was kind of interesting because the equity market went up in the second quarter, but in total for the mutual funds industry, we didn't see positive inflows. So there was a kind of interesting trend to see market going up, but not necessarily inflows for the industry on the equity side, not for us. Otherwise, all other strategy have performed nicely, and also from a regional point of view, we had positive inflows, I would say, across the globe.
That's interesting. Giulio, we've talked again and again about the 10-year real rate in the US hitting record lows. How do you expect that to impact flows? Do you expect there to be more flows moving into equities away from bonds for the rest of the year?
So I would say that the trend of having very low interest rates might eventually clearly push an appetite for equity. On the other side, on the equity market, there might be some uncertainty. So from that point of view, investors could be a little bit cautious in going into equity. On our side, we need to think about the fact that it's not just about clearly the level of interest rate, it's also about the spread that you get on top of that. And I would say, especially in a situation like this, relying on an asset manager with the expertise and quality of PIMCO might make the difference. So that's especially in this situation that I think that the strength of a franchise like PIMCO is going to play very, very nicely.